We did a little survey in a town in Bakersfield, California, and one of the things that's kind of occurred in many of the classrooms, you probably are familiar with it. I'd like to see a little poll from some of you, is the one-to-one classroom. In other words, everyone has a computer or some kind of technology, and as the teacher is working up front, so the students are working in the back. How many of you, let me see, in your classrooms allow your students to have all your technology up and running and paying attention? How many of you, just raise your hands? Okay, so let me ask another question, the opposite. How many of you do not allow students to have their phones up? Or maybe that's another question, isn't it? Because phone is different than how many people don't allow students to have their phones out? Okay? It would be interesting to explore some of the reasons. I mean, obviously getting off topic is one of the main reasons, right? So in any case, one of the things that we've done in a classroom is we'll have students in our doctoral classroom, and these are doctoral students here, is we'll have students, as the instructor is speaking, they are supposed to verify or expand or elaborate on the ideas that the instructor is thinking about. So a lot of times they will check out the article in the library, in the library somewhere, and read different parts of it. And then they have to contribute to that discussion, right? Sometimes one of the things we've done before is students will order actually books that I'm talking about as we're going along, or they'll check them out in the library, because you can get a lot of books online these days, and they can read through some of those. But it's not sufficient that the students will just listen to me. I'm not that interesting, right? They need to be a lot more involved and excited. And to do that, what they need to do is engage not only in what I'm saying, but also in a kind of their own personal agenda that they have trying to get information. Otherwise, it ends up being kind of uninteresting for them. So, we've already been introduced. I think we're ready to continue.
Should we use the wireless mic or the podium mic? Wireless mic is fine, both. Okay. So once again, good morning. My name is Jason Hodgson. We have a diverse group of educators today. I am a school site principal for middle school students, grades 6, 7, and 8. My colleagues, we have a school psychologist, a classroom teacher, and our professor from the university. As he mentioned, our study is one-to-one learning devices in the classroom. As we go this morning, we're going to ask that our hashtag one-to-one readiness, if you have questions that we don't get to, or if you're wondering where our presentation will be, if you search on Twitter for the hashtag one-to-one readiness, this is where we will take questions as well as post our presentation from today.
So get your phones out or go to your computers.
So,
get ready to ask those questions.
As a student 30 years ago, my teachers used chalk on a chalkboard. And I sat in class and I took notes with a pencil. And I went home and I watched movies about people talking on their watches to other people 30 years ago. And interestingly enough, this progression in the classroom shows a strong correlation to some of what we know from, we have an advertisement in 3, 2, 1, go. It does have sound, but we don't hear it. So what it's showing is the various watches as time has gone by. Power Rangers, the Knight Rider watch kit called his car on his watch. If you are familiar with David Hasselhoff, the flying robot, Inspector Gadget is a cartoon that we watched as kids. All along this progression of talking watches has kind of evolved until finally, of course, today, many of us know, some of you may have seen this watch. Interestingly enough, the Apple iWatch in 1 week has outsold this watch in the last 3 years, even though Samsung tried really hard to make this a successful watch. In 1 week, Apple iWatch has already outsold this entire 3-year project. So going forward, trying to draw the parallel to the classroom, in today's age, the time has come for, and I apologize, I'm going to trip over things here. The time has come for this shift. And so, again, the setting, K-8 classroom. We gathered this data last year in January, and then here is our definition of, here's our definition of a one-to-one classroom. So we have educators, mainly 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th grade laptops. Our purpose, we want to look qualitatively at, or we did look qualitatively at, what students and staff mainly are experiencing as districts around our area in California when they put laptops or netbooks on a student's desk and try and talk to them and teach them, and the pedagogy and the change, the shift that occurs in that process. The literature that we looked at, I'm not going to read all of them to you, but one of the key findings for us is building capacity of teachers to provide instruction electronically, both asynchronous, synchronous with Google Drive, Google products for education. And again, this will be on our hashtag one-to-one readiness, this presentation. Another big finding for us that we're going to focus on today is that component of preparing teachers. What does effective teacher professional development and training look like as I prepare to present my curriculum in an electronic manner that is most effective with students in today's age? And so student engagement and motivation is important. And then I apologize, this looks a little different in the browser that we have here, but it says that teachers can think they're doing a great job even if they or their students never use technology. And 20 years ago, this was the case. I could sit in class, my teacher could use a piece of chalk, and I can still learn from that process. But in terms of preparing a learner for the 21st century, I am no longer prepared for the 21st century if I am taking a classroom through a traditional model of pencil and paper. So the existing research.
Okay, just to give you some context of what we did with our research and how we built and expanded on it. We published earlier this year, Enhancing Teacher Readiness for One-to-One Learning Devices in the K-8 Classroom. And as part of this research, it was a mixed methods design, and we used these key questions to guide our research. So we were interested in finding out the current state of knowledge of teachers to implement one-to-one initiatives at their sites. And we also wanted to know their level of knowledge in these 4 areas: operational knowledge, teaching and learning environment and lessons, assessment and productivity, and professional practice, as a way to gauge what their readiness was for implementing one-to-one. Our district demographics, we had a district with this student enrollment, and as you can see here, it was a pretty, about 50% were Hispanic or Latino, and then we had a diverse group in the other demographics. Our participants consisted of 780 total teachers, but of them we had a 47% response rate to an online survey through SurveyMonkey. And we had 28 administrators also respond, and the total number of participants are there for you to see. So as I had mentioned, we had done a mixed methods research design by gathering data on SurveyMonkey, and we used quantitative data as well as qualitative data gathered from comments that these teachers and administrators made to the different questions that were asked. There were 25 questions with open and closed ended questions, a Likert scale ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree, and our response rate was 49%. So our findings at this time, the current state of knowledge, we had 73% of the site administration and staff finding ways to integrate technology. So they were actively looking for ways to integrate it. However, they felt over half of them felt that it was not clearly articulated how to use this in their classroom instruction. So far as operational knowledge, over half received professional development in integrating technology within the past 5 years, but yet 30% did not know how to use that in their instruction. So it's not enough to just turn your computer on and to start guiding instruction. You need to know how to use it in all aspects of classroom instruction. In the teaching and learning environment, 90% of those surveyed said that one-to-one would help them individualize classroom learning for their students. And 83% believed that it would improve their way of instructing their students. But only 58% felt confident enough to do this. So just across the board, there is that anxiousness to actually use technology in the classroom, but how is always the question. So far as assessment's concerned, 90% believe that this would help them use student data to tailor instruction for the students. And yet only 42% did not know how to use this. So these numbers are kind of high, and we were concerned about those teachers who were not feeling confident enough with their current knowledge. With enhancing productivity and their professional practice in the classroom, these were the highest reported obstacles to integrating technology. As you can see here, 90% lack of funding. That seems to be the issue across the board in education. Lack of reliable technology. It happens. Your machines will turn off, there'll be a virus, so there's always that issue. Access to technology. Some teachers may have more computers in their classrooms than other teachers, and therefore the instruction might be different. So they were concerned about that. And also the lack of professional development. It's not enough to just give a one-shot professional development and then the rest of the year not revisit it. You need to have it constant and within your site. Okay.
I just want to make one quick comment because you guys have just experienced gold here. I don't know if you noticed, right? 73% of the teachers want to know more about technology. Now you take that to your administrator and ask for a raise, okay? Because you are very valuable to the people out there. So I think what we have to do in part is we got to take stuff away from these kind of presentations. You think of, use one of those statistics. 73% need to learn more or want to learn more about technology. That's your in for any group of teachers, right?
Okay, so the idea here is that technology alone is necessary but not sufficient to scale student success. And with that in mind, we built on our existing research by asking two key questions. First one is, what are the teachers' hopes and fears regarding implementation of one-on-one initiative? And what have surrounding districts who've done this work successfully learned from their work? And again, we use the participants for our existing research, but we looked closer at the qualitative responses we received in answering those additional research questions. Let me skip that part. And our key findings with regard to what teachers thought could help them integrate technology, you can see they have very many ideas here, with the top being that they actually want these one-on-one devices in their classrooms. More than half of them expressed that. They also want training for the devices. and that there's daily support in terms of technology's troubleshooting. And I like this quote, and it kind of reflects what Dr. Anderson mentioned earlier. It's about us shaping our tools and our tools shaping us, this reciprocal relationship with students regarding technology. And regarding hopes, again, wide-ranging hopes that teachers and administrators expressed, with the first one being really that it's implemented, and again, that they're trained and confident in doing so, and that it actually increases student performance. And all of those themes are reflected in this one participant's quote, and that they are hoping that it actually works, and that teachers don't shy away from doing that. Regarding fears, again, wide-ranging reports, with the top 3 being technology issues and professional development issues. And this one participant summarizes those fears as well. Okay. 5 minutes.
How are we doing on time? 3 minutes. 3 minutes, okay. So in addition to surveying the teachers, we also contacted neighboring districts. We had 3 districts specifically that had implemented and given students devices for multiple years, each of them doing things a little bit differently. The first was recognized as an Apple Distinguished Technology Program. Their key finding was to correlate the mission of the entire school, the goals, with the one-to-one implementation process. That was one of the key findings from this district. And then also, the superintendent specifically stated that if he were to do this again in his district, he would use the time with his principals, his directors of all the schools, much more so than he had, because they are the communicators and the culture creators on school campuses. And so he felt that if he were to do it again, that's what he would do. This is actually District B, I believe. Have a deliberate plan. No, I'm sorry, 2 slides for District A. Create a learning center so that teachers can help each other, and then academic coaches. District B, again, articulate the initiatives. Professional development was a major theme for our study. Anytime, anywhere learning was District C. That was their model. And then they actually had a grant and partnered with a local cable company to provide wireless access for their students in their homes. This was a very big publicity gaining activity for the local cable company, because they became the students' internet provider, and it was at no cost to the students. So it was a complex partnership, but one that had benefits both ways. So our next steps, our last slides, make sure that mainly that the hardware and software is functional. The infrastructure is the #1 challenge in the states for this type of an environment, in which we're talking about thousands of live YouTube channels at the same time on any given campus. And so if you can picture the amount of data that's flowing through thousands of computers simultaneously, all different YouTube videos, whatever they want to view, or whatever the current project is in their class, you need to be able to support streaming media. Implications for practice. Tech teachers. Teachers need support from teachers in the classroom. And so specifically training a small group of innovators, of go-getters on your staff, so that they can help train with the curriculum on the table and integrate the tools. Because technology is just a tool, as we know. Without the training of how to properly integrate and change our pedagogy and our paradigms, we will not be effective. And then, again, just really going back to the data, the slides that Jocelyn presented, you saw the huge scale on making sure that we know how to use one-to-one, but also the belief that it is going to be successful. But the gap between the understanding and how to actually use a one-to-one device in the classroom as a tool. And so Leonard Simo passed away recently, and so in his memory, one of the things that he used to say as he wrapped up a Star Trek episode, it was live long and prosper. And so we hope that you all have a very prosperous afternoon. And Dr. DeVoe has one final question.